Good morning, kids. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everyone had a fantastic Labor Day weekend. Um, I have my coffee. I hope you have yours too. I can't talk today, which is not good for a show that's all about talking. Uh, I haven't had my coffee yet. That may be part of the problem. Um, I didn't have a stream over Labor Day weekend because it was Labor Day weekend, but I also didn't have a stream on Friday because I just was not able to get on stream. So that's why there was a brief hiatus here. But hey, here we are now. We're live. There's a lot of stuff that I would want to try and cover since, I've been kind of out of the news cycle here for quite a while. But before anything, of course, I want to say hello and greet in my usual manner of all the folks here on all the different platforms that I'm on. Hey, hello to everybody on YouTube. Hello to everybody on Periscope. Hello to everybody on DLive. Hello to everybody on Twitch. Hello to everybody, of course, on Bitwave. We were having some technical difficulties on Bitwave last Thursday as well, but hey, that's all resolved now. It seems everything's working hunky-dory. So, so we're streaming. We're here. We're gonna talk about the news, and yeah, we're just gonna roll with the punches here and see what happens. So, one of the biggest things that have been happening has come from Russia. Apparently, a Russian opposition leader, Alexei Navalny, or Navalny, however it's pronounced. I'm the king of mispronouncing things here. It appears that he's at the Charité Universitats Medicine, and I'm sure I probably did just completely butchered that. He's a huge, staunch critic of Putin, and he was in an induced coma. He fell ill on a flight on August 20th, and the plane was forced to make an emergency landing. There's chemical nerve agent present in his system. Russia denies involvement. German government said that the Russian leader was poisoned by a nerve agent. German government said this, and yeah. So there's a lot of suspicion that Putin or the Russian government are involved. They, of course, as I mentioned, they deny everything. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen for that? Like, this should be amazing news, something that is covered wildly. I'm not seeing much of it at all. The only mentions I've heard about it have been primarily on social media. But you know what? Instead, what the news is covering right now, the fact that Trump asked a reporter to remove his mask because the guy was mumbling, you couldn't hear him. Because priorities. I kid you not. It's one of the top trends on what's happening here on Twitter. On the right side, there's a little "what's happening" thing. That is the big news to them. Trump couldn't hear him or understand him, and everybody's making a big deal over the fact that Trump asked him to remove his mask. And the guy was just arguing with him instead. I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me that the news cycle is just so off its kilter. It's like a surgeon in the body. You have a person with open heart surgery, and they're like, ah, let's ignore the heart. You know, the reason why we're here. Let's just go rummage around in other organs that are not really of consequence to this operation. That's really what it seems like it boils down to. So it's just it's just one of those things that you don't understand what the newsroom cycles like the decision making process is. Hey, DSP official, welcome to the stream. Um, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me how it's decided what news items are deemed important enough to talk about while others are not. But I mean, on one side it's surprising to me, but on the other side it's not so surprising to me. Drinking my coffee. Oh yeah, that hits the spot. So there's that. Um, first item of business that we're talking about here. So it is what it is. Now you have Michael Cohen that's trying to make money off another salacious and false book. A book full of salacious and falsehoods. What else is new? I mean, these guys, all these guys that have come out and just claim all this crap about Trump. It's just amazing to me how consistent this propaganda machine has been. And it's this stuff that makes you really realize how fake the fake news is and how ridiculous this whole news cycle is. Speaking of news cycles, since we were talking about that, and how ridiculous really the left is giving these people even a platform. I mean, sure, free speech, fine, whatever. I'm not gonna say don't give them, don't let these people talk, but it's just. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I just find it very, very funny that these people are given such a platform and over and over and over and over again is shown that these people really don't produce anything that's verifiably factual. You had the Michael Bolton book. You had the other book that I can't even remember the guy's name anymore. You have the Atlantic article, which the editor of the Atlantic comes out going, "Oh yeah, you know what? Turns out that the whole premise of my article is pretty much false." I mean, if this was any other industry, individuals that have failed so much at their job would have been fired so long ago. Their head would have spun. Yet these guys still have a job, and they're putting people like Michael Cohen on TV to say such. Hey, thank you for the ice cream. I forgot to put my headphones on. Hey, I forgot to put my headphones in so I can hear myself. Oh, whoopsie! I just hit my mic. I have a bad habit of doing that. It seems. Ooh, I'm hearing a lot of background noise. 1 second, let me see something. No, my filters are on. Let's see if that reduces the sound a little bit. Maybe it's just in my head. I think, yeah, it might be just in my headphones, the way it's just producing the sound. That's weird. But anyways, it is just amazing to me. And thanks for the ice cream made in USA review. Much appreciated. There's an echo? Oh, you know what? It might be hold on, let me check something here. If there was an echo, I might know why. I just need to check something. Let's see. That's interesting. So, but anyways, moving on. Yeah, so basically I had to go back to the correct window here. Cohen, we're talking about Michael Cohen. This guy's an amazing sleazeball, by the way. No, I don't like to categorize all attorneys as sleazeballs because there are some good attorneys out there. I know them, I've worked with them. But this guy is the epitome of the sleazeball attorney. And excuse me. If there's one thing that on one side, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. On one side, I don't quite understand why Trump would hire someone like this. But at the same time, if you're dealing and wheeling in business affairs and you're dealing with the very nefarious people and banks and politicians and all this sort of stuff, and people that try to screw you out of money because you've got a lot, I can understand why you would hire someone who's a sleazeball to take care of a lot of this legal stuff, because you need someone who in the legal world is rather relentless at dealing with this sort of stuff. Because when you deal with the legal world, and like I said, my experience is very superficial because of just the line of work that I have and that I've done in the past. There are quite fascinating aspects of the law. And you have to think in a certain way. You have to act in a certain way. And a lot of it is just outmaneuvering. Like if in a case, in any case, a lot of times what's happening isn't so much facts of the case and things of that nature. A lot of times what is happening is this outmaneuvering of attorneys, basically. Like between attorneys, they are trying to outmaneuver each other. They're kind of playing around each other, trying to get each other off their game. So if you're one of those kind of attorneys, kind of like Cohen and others that I've seen and had the unfortunate experience of dealing with, then you know, it makes you very disillusioned about attorneys in general. I can understand the feeling. I can understand why a lot of people say a lot of attorneys are sleazeballs, but this guy in particular is. And I can understand why you would hire one, especially if you're dealing with New York. If you're dealing with other states, it's different. Oh, you have both DLive and Bitwave. Oh, yeah, that'll do it. Absolutely. Hold on, let me open my. I didn't have my restream stuff up here. I'm messing around also with different streaming apps right now. I plan on doing some tests with one app because that other app that I tried, I don't even remember the name of it anymore at the moment. Didn't quite work out, unfortunately. But I'm looking at one that has potential, and I want to see how, if anything, it works out. So we'll see. But anyways, going back to Cohen, this guy's a sleazeball. Everybody knows he's a sleazeball. This guy has already said a lot of. The one that I'm thinking about trying out is called VMix. Find a dog who'll eat a dog. Caligula. Did Caligula really say that? That's an interesting quote. It's called VMix, the one that I'm planning on trying. There's another one that is called, I think it's called Livestream Studios. The other one that I was playing around with, but I've been not too impressed by that. So VMix seems to be the one that I'm liking the most. I've been just experimenting with other software that has multi-streaming built in. So hopefully, on a PBS miniseries, I Claudius he did. Well, Caligula was quite the historical figure. Let's just put it that way. Oh boy. Every time I see Caligula, the thing that comes to my mind is the comedian Dana Gould. The reason why is because in one of his bits he talks about the beginnings of his career, where he he says that he lived above. He was like, I think it's San Francisco or something like that, and he lived above an apartment. His apartment was above a novelty chocolate shop that made chocolates in various adult shapes. Let's put it that way. And it was called. He says it was called Caligula's Fist. I don't know if any of that is true, but the fact that he just like I heard that bit of his and it just makes me laugh. I don't know why. It's just really just the image is comical to me. Another thing that's trending right now in the news is just what a piece of garbage Kamala Harris is. So she visits Jacob Blake and his family. Or I think she visits his family. I'm not sure she visits Jacob Blake specifically. So let's see. So Senator Kamala Harris visits today the family. This was the statement from the civil rights attorney here that was with her. This is with the family of Jacob Blake Jr., who joined by phone from his hospital bed. So he was there. She visited him per se, but not in person. So Senator Harris had an inspirational and uplifting 1-hour visit with Jacob Blake Jr. Again, remember, he's the alleged digital rapist. He spoke individually. She spoke individually with each family member about how they were handling the trauma and urged them to take care of their physical and mental health. In a moving moment, Jacob Jr. told Senator Harris that he was proud of her, and the senator told Jacob that she was also proud of him and how he is working through his pain. I mean, let's just take this in context for a moment. Okay? I'm old enough to remember the absolute trash behavior of Kamala Harris when it came to Kavanaugh. It didn't matter how salacious, how fake, how ridiculous the story was, how inconsistent the story was. Kavanaugh was the scum of the earth, a serial rapist, a piece of garbage. I'm not talking to you, Siri. Apparently saying cereal, get Siri up in arms here. Yet this guy, who had a restraining order on him, you have corroborating stories of his misdeeds. He caused his own injuries by essentially not listening to the cops. There's nothing that shows there was any racial motivation to this whole story anyways. Because at the end, the statement says she encouraged them to continue to use their voices even through their pain to help America progress to end systemic racism, which doesn't exist, by the way. There's no such thing as systemic racism in this day and age in the United States. So this guy, she's proud of him. But Brett Kavanaugh, she wanted to crucify him. Literally. If she had the power to crucify that man, she would have. And nobody on the left's gonna call her out on this hypocrisy. Nobody. That's the thing that's really most frustrating to me. Honestly. It's not so much the bullshit, because the bullshit is expected. I expect this sort of crap. It's kind of like the stand-up bit by John Panette. John Panette, amazing comedian. He's one of my favorite comedians. And he had this bit about bungee jumping, where they would go to him. He's a bigger guy. If people don't know who John Panette is, he was a big guy. Really big guy. And he said, my friends come up to me one day and they say, they want to go, hey, John, let's go bungee jumping. He goes, oh, nay, nay. And they go, why? You're afraid the bungee's going to snap? He goes, no, I know the bungee's going to snap. That's a given. Why be afraid of shit you know that's going to happen? And that's the thing. This is shit you know that's going to happen. You know they're going to keep claiming systemic racism. You know they're going to beatify and sanctify pieces of shit like Jacob Blake Jr. Allegedly piece of shit, okay? An alleged piece of shit. Who allegedly finger rapes women and tries to steal their car. And that doesn't listen to any order by the police, and then now all of a sudden he's the victim. But who cares about the woman that he allegedly victimized? There was a tweet actually by Ben Shapiro about this too that I think I put aside because I thought it was interesting. I'm gonna have to find it now. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see where that tweet is anymore. I don't even know if I have it up anymore. But the point is, I mean, let's see. The point is that it's just it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, here it is. I found it. That's the New York Times. He was. It's Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro was criticizing the New York Times, saying that they're making a hero of a man who allegedly digitally raped a woman with her child in the room. I didn't realize that little detail there. They only mention his alleged crimes for which there was an open warrant. So there was enough reason to believe that he actually did commit those crimes, that there was an open warrant for him. And the alleged victim of whom called the police in the first place comes in at paragraph 17 and is as vague as humanly possible. And this is what the New York Times article references when it comes to Jacob Blake. By video conference from his hospital bed, Mr. Blake pleaded not guilty on Friday to 3 domestic charges against him, including a sexual assault count. The charges were filed in July. On the day Mr. Blake was shot, the woman who reported the assault called 911 saying that Mr. Blake was at her home. The Kenosha police said they were trying to arrest Mr. Blake when the shooting occurred. So that's the New York Times spin on the whole thing, trying to keep it as vague as possible, trying to not inform people about who this individual really is. And I've said this many times in the past. I'm not saying that just because a person is a criminal, they deserve to die or anything like that. No. Or they deserve to get shot willy-nilly. No. But if you're a criminal, you're a criminal. Okay? And if you're a criminal, most likely you're not going to obey the cops, and that's going to be the consequence of your actions. There's an action and reaction here. You know, if he didn't want to get shot, all he had to do was just let the cops arrest him, and then he could deal with all the legal battles afterwards. The cops are not there to basically play jury on the spot and judge on the spot, an executioner on the spot, or sentence. They give you the sentence on the spot. Their whole job is to go arrest you, bring you to the precinct, and then the judicial system deals with everything else. And I think there's a huge misunderstanding, and a lot of people actually, in their perception of what police are there to do. Police are there to stop crimes in progress, and police are there to make arrests. That's it. That's really their whole job. I mean, sure, it's an oversimplification, but I mean, you get the idea, though. This isn't... People that argue with cops, argue the law, they're wasting time, honestly. And it's just ridiculous to me that if you want to base a movement off of the martyrdom of people who put guns in the stomach of pregnant women, people who allegedly digitally rape women with children present, mind you, and other, let's say, less than honorable folk, it really makes me wonder what your motivations are as a movement. To be honest. Let me catch up here with chat. I've been just trying to focus on talking and not looking at it. Systemic racism exists as an all-encompassing excuse for any discomfort these people experience, self-inflicted or no. Pulled over for running a red light, systemic racism. Caught a cold, systemic racism. Hangnail, systemic racism. So I got pricked by a rose bush yesterday. Can I claim systemic racism for that? You know, to me, it's. I think partially it's a little bit of that. I think it's a good excuse. Um, well, let's just be fair and objective for a moment. Sure, there are racist people. There are, I'm sure, some individuals, even on police forces, that are racist. Sure, yeah. But to claim that the entire police force is racist is just ludicrous. It's laughable. Okay? To claim that our legal system is inherently racist is a joke. It's just a joke. It does the laws as they are written now don't exist. Digitally rape sounds like a Photoshop effect. Jeez, I would love to see what that effect does to photos. That would be quite the Photoshop effect, I think. I mean, it's just what it boils down to is this. Everybody at one point or another is going to have some sort of run-in with the cop. Either just something as simple as just being pulled over for speeding, to something much larger than that, depending on the situation. Sometimes people can get caught up in stuff, and sometimes people can make bad mistakes, and sometimes people can panic, and I get that. You know, not all situations are created equal. I get that. I do. But at the same time, it's also a matter of how you handle yourself under pressure and how you handle yourself in that situation. And if you have been ingrained all your life that the cops hate you, the man hates you, the system hates you, everybody's racist, everybody's discriminatory, everybody wants to keep you down. Oh, absolutely, Illustrator. Sometimes people can make shit much, much worse by their reactions. Absolutely. And 99% of the time, 99% of the time, people essentially complicate their lives. That's really what it is. Oh yeah. But it's really that's what it boils down to is it's a cultural problem too, because the black community, um, they view police as an enemy when they shouldn't, because they made these claims that were made back in the Obama years. There were claims made back then under the Obama years that it was open season on young black men. That, like, as if the cops were going around in camo, you know, just going around popping people off for sport. There is also that, Illustrator, that is also this whole thug life thing, you know, gangsta lifestyle kind of thing that kind of plays into that as well. It's a cultural thing too. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because there's so much potential in the black community. There's so much potential in all communities, really. It's not just the black community. Any community, when you have young generations coming up, bright new young generations, especially in this day and age where there's so much like opportunities for education and opportunities for prosperity and opportunities to for enrichment too, like intellectually and physically. You know, there's so many things nowadays that we know as a society about health, mental health, physical health. You never saw Luther Vandross talking about capping 5? No, I did not. He did that. How to eradicate racism? Yeah, essentially, you know, one of the big ways of doing that. I mean, I could do an entire stream based off of that topic. There's no surefire way, but being bigoted on both sides is the first problem. When your perception of everybody else around you is that everybody's discriminating against you, It's kind of like that saying that I said the other day on stream. Is like there's a saying that says, "Do not attribute to malice what could easily be explained away with stupidity." And the same goes with biggest faults. the same goes for racism. It's very easy. It's very easy for someone to experience something. And if they train their brains to view it as racism, view everything as racism, they're going to just say, "Oh, this person just hates me." Like, I've had issues in the past for the fact that I'm Catholic, okay? I've had people literally insult me for being Catholic. And I've had people that have insulted me for just insulting me, and I could easily say, "Oh, it's because I'm Catholic. Everybody's doing that because I'm Catholic." No. I have to look at the situation in front of me. If someone has an issue with me, and they take issue with me and they insult me or they have a discussion with me or whatever the issue may be, if there's nothing in front of me that shows me that it relates to, in my case, for example, the fact that I'm Catholic, then what is that? What possible reason do I have to attribute that to the situation? Well, I understand that, Illustrator, the whole pedophilia scandal, but the thing is, you have to also look at things in perspective. Those were people within the church that did that. That doesn't mean that I approved of that as a Catholic. I never have. I never will. And those people are criminals, and that doesn't negate the teachings of the church. So it doesn't affect me in the sense that I was not out there going, "Hell yeah, yay for the pedos," no. Exactly, Illustrator. Yeah, they have no bear. It has no bearing, and they insert it into the argument. So to me, that's what it boils down to, and that sort of mentality that you're talking about, where people just attribute that sort of thing to Catholics, or the same thing that happens with race. That is where you get a lot of ignorance and bigotry and misunderstanding. And I think that's a big problem. Because the biggest thing that people need to understand is the fact that they need to understand. And what I mean by that is, like, in order to really break down barriers and to really be able to resolve a lot of issues that we have in the world, generally speaking, is to actually have the cognizance to want to sit down and just, even if you don't agree with someone, at least try to understand where they're coming from. And not only that, at least be willing to try and work with them. That's the one thing that I've never understood about politics. Because, especially with the post-Trump era, okay? I've seen this sort of thing in other countries too, so this isn't unique to the United States. But you take, like, the Democrats, who are being absolute obstructionists. And the Republicans did it under Obama. They did it as well. And the thing that I don't understand is, okay, you don't like the guy, you don't like his policies, he wasn't supposed to win. He's shaking up the establishment. I get it. He's under these people's skin because he wasn't supposed to be there. The crown was supposed to be given to Hillary. And their political agendas were supposed to be just moving on along, turning this country to a socialist country. I get that. But despite all that, his policies have been having a positive impact on the United States. Whether you agree with him or not, whether you like him or not. Since he's been president, everything they said he would do in terms of destroying the country has not come to be. Our economy has been strong, our job numbers have been good, our unemployment numbers have been good, wages are up. You have kind of an awakening happening in the world too, in the United States primarily, I mean. In terms of like how much scum and villainy really exists in the media and politics, which I think is a positive thing. Well, no, they didn't do it to the same degree. That's right, Illustrator. But they were also obstructionists. And the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats in this case were that even though the Republicans were obstructionists, they didn't change the rules of the Senate, and they didn't change the rules of the House to ram legislation down the throat to overcome the obstructionism. The Democrats did that with the nuclear option. Harry Reid was probably the worst Senate Majority Leader that the United States has ever had. This guy caused irreparable damage to the Senate, creating an incredible imbalance of power by modifying the rules of the Senate to force legislation down the throat of Americans. Even though Americans didn't want it, the Senate didn't want it, the House didn't want it. Nobody wanted this legislation except the Democratic Party. The vast majority of Americans did not want Obamacare. But he didn't care. The Democrats didn't care. But you're right, Illustrator. I'm looking over what you're saying is that it takes effort and there's money to be made keeping people at each other's throats. That's true. It's unfortunately true. But the point that I was making earlier about, the fact that you have the Democrats now, today, being absolute obstructionists, if not criminal, actually, there's argument for that. When you're inciting violence and you're inciting assassination of the president, I would say that that's pretty criminal behavior. And you have people that have done that in Congress. In the legislature, you've had people who have done that. You have Pelosi who's done that. You've had Cuomo, governors that have done that as well. So you've had Governor Cuomo that has done that. You've had Ayanna Pressley. You had AOC. You have Maxine Waters. I could keep going. You had Biden himself. Biden himself said he wanted to punch Trump in the face. And this guy's now the Democratic nominee for president. Yet somehow nobody on the left cares about that. Can you imagine? Actually, I don't even need to imagine. I already know the left's reaction if Trump would say something similar. Because in one of Trump's rallies, Trump referenced to, in the days of yore, things would have been different. Because in the days of yore, he probably would have gotten belted when someone was being uppity in one of his rallies and causing disruptions. And they took him out. Took him out as in they escorted him out of the building. And everybody had a cow. Everybody had a cow over it. The media was like, he's inciting violence. He's inciting violence. Oh my God. Oh my God. And you know what? I didn't really like that he said that back then. I'm not saying that it's okay for Trump to say it, but it's not okay for Democrats to say it. I'm saying nobody should be saying that crap. But it's so funny how quickly the media forgets how freaked out they were and how appalled they were when Trump said something that even remotely resembled that sort of thing. But when you have the left explicitly saying, go harass conservatives, go harass Trump supporters, Kamala Harris saying we're going to come after you if she becomes president. She said that. She said, all you people that were Trump supporters, once the power shifts, Like, she basically gave a warning. We're gonna come after you. We're gonna hunt you down. And these people are the nominees for a political party that could potentially win the presidency and vice presidency. Someone who wants to punch people in the face and another one who wants to hunt down half the population of the United States. At minimum half. I think the news media needs to just have all their protections removed, honestly. I hate to say something like this, but in this day and age, all these protections that the press and freedoms that the press has, they need to be forced to be truthful. I believe that reporters themselves, when they write an article or they do a news report on the news, on TV or a video, whatever medium is used, they create a report. If there are factual inaccuracies, they need to be liable for it, for the slander or mischaracterization of things. And not only them, their employer needs to be held responsible as well because they published it. Oh, no, I'm not saying to repeal the First Amendment. No. Free speech to me reigns supreme. All I'm saying, though, that the free press has certain privileges. There are certain things that the free press are given a pass on because they're supposed to be the free press. Yeah, I think it should be made easier to sue them. Make them liable for what they write and what they say. Because the biggest problem that the media has right now is that there's no consequence to them just outright lying. Look what happened with the Atlantic. For 2 days, I think, there was just all this rambunctious nonsense over the fact that Trump said something against the military, which wasn't true. And then the editor himself goes, oh yeah, it wasn't really true. We don't have any real backing. There's no source that really confirms. And the whole premise of the article is actually false. And you know what? There's going to be no consequence to that. There's going to be no consequence to that for him. The consequence that's going to happen is you're going to have people out there that, despite the Atlantic editor coming out and saying, you know what, it was kind of bullshit. You're going to have people that hate Trump so much and hate Trump supporters so much. They're going to believe it. They're just going to go with it and believe it, no matter what evidence then you show in front of them, because they just don't like Trump. And they don't like Trump supporters. Nick Sandman was an outlier. Lawsuits against the news media should be more frequent. Absolutely, they should be more frequent. They should be sued into oblivion until they learn to report accurately and report the facts. Simple. That's what it boils down to. Is that the media is doing an absolute disservice to our country now. And it's about time that this stopped. Nick Sandman, the thing about Nick Sandman is that it was easier for him to bring a suit because, one, he was a minor. I believe I think he's 18 now. He was a minor, and there was just straight up defamation of character. There is a difference between getting the story wrong and setting someone up on purpose, but the thing is, the story is wrong on purpose. That's the biggest problem that we have nowadays. This article by The Atlantic, for example, BuzzFeed has done it, Vox has done it, MSNBC has done it, ABC has done it. And he was a non-celebrity until this happened. Yeah. I mean, this kid potentially, if he didn't sue, this kid's life would have been absolutely ruined. And his life now, for better or for worse, has changed forever. I mean, maybe the kid never wanted any sort of celebrity. Maybe he just wanted to live a quiet life. And the same with Kyle. Yeah, same with Kyle Rittenhouse. That's a different situation, though. But yeah. The thing is, it's not a matter of getting the story wrong. That's the biggest problem here. Like, a lot of times I would hear people argue that with me. Yeah, he has the same attorney. And I'm good. And I'm glad. And hopefully we'll see, you know, what comes of that. Because all evidence so far that I've seen points to that it was self-defense for Kyle Rittenhouse. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. Let's see what else to talk about. So this is something that's really funny to me, or really, really, really weird and insane. Jelly Belly apparently wants to copy Willy Wonka. He's doing this golden ticket hunt in Jelly Belly, and the grand prize winner gets the candy factory. I mean, I don't even know what to think about this. Seems to me like a very bad idea. Okay. Randomly choosing the owner of a factory, of an enterprise like that doesn't seem like the best choice to me to make. Then again, I've never been the biggest fan of Jelly Bellies. Some taste good, others I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Some taste like ass. Some are like really, really scary, terrible. Um, Ugh, you know. So I don't know. I think this is a weird stunt that he's pulling. Jelly bellies are pretty bad. Some are pretty bad. Some are good. Like some of the more fruit flavor kinds are actually really good. But when you have like buttered popcorn flavor and some other like really, really crazy funky flavors, it's like, what the hell were you thinking? I know, right, Illustrator? Where's Jelly Belly gonna hire all those midgets and ones that can sing? I demand Oompa Loompas. If I buy Jelly Bellies and I get the company, I want Oompa Loompas. You tried eating Beanie Babies? I don't know. It's just weird to me. It's just weird to me that someone would mirror a fictional story. It's just peculiar. It's just very peculiar to me that someone would do that. Because I promise you, like the real life factories are not filled with whimsy, and the other thing is like if this ever happens, I also demand that the entire factory be edible. Like in Willy Wonka, you could eat everything there. You know, you may not be too off, troll. TTP4, that it's really weird that an adult would do that to try and attract children. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. It's just very, very, very peculiar to me. I think it's a huge publicity stunt. I think there's going to be some sort of legal thing that says, oh, well, you know what? We can't give a factory to a kid. I think there's going to be some rules there saying you have to be 18 or older to participate in that. Because a child cannot own, I don't think a child can own a company. But you know what? If he wants to pull some sort of stunt of that kind, so be it. I mean, it's his company. I don't understand the logic behind it. So I don't know. Like I said, to me, it's weird. It's really weird. Um, Another thing that apparently Trump has gotten people's panties in a twist yet again because he tweeted along the lines of, well, where is this tweet? Let me bring up the article because they probably have the tweet quoted in there. He says, the real polls are starting to look great, Trump celebrated, despite the fact the poll polls show the president trailing Joe Biden in the 2020 presidential race. We'll be having an even bigger victory than that of 2016. And, oh, here's the whole thing. So Trump says, the real polls are starting to look great. We will be having an even bigger victory than that of 2016. The radical left anarchists, agitators, looters, and just plain lunatics will not be happy. But they will behave. And everybody's having a cow over that. Because they're saying that he's threatening people. I don't see that as a threat. I'm just seeing that as him being the president and saying, you know, this is the thing. Trump has been saying since the very beginning that this stuff should stop. All this violence, anarchist looters. And yeah, some of them, if you look at the videos, they do seem like lunatics. They're insane. The stuff that they say and do, there's nothing normal about that sort of behavior, okay? So I don't take issue with him. I don't take issue with him insulting people who want to burn down their communities and businesses. I don't take issue with him calling these radical people what they are, that they are anarchists, they are agitators, they are looters. Antifa themselves are a domestic terrorist group. I would say the same of BLM. You know? So I don't have an issue with this. But of course, you know, whatever Trump says, they gotta make an issue out of it because everything's a Greek tragedy, apparently. And it's just getting tiresome. You know, after a while, it's really getting tiresome. And, you know, this reflects with people. And then you have people like Joe Biden, whose tweets idiotic things like, Wall Street didn't build this country. The middle class did. The unions built the middle class, which is not true at all. Donald Trump doesn't understand that. We need a president who does. No, Biden, you don't understand how this country was built. Okay? Unions did not build the middle class. Anyone who claims otherwise really does not understand the nature of how our country grew. Juneteenth only became a thing because Trump wanted to hold an event on June 19th. Nobody had ever heard of it until the left started screeching about it, not even through 8 years of a black president. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's insane. The stuff that they're trying to pull just to attack Trump and his supporters. Because the narrative is more important than anything else. Narrative reigns supreme. Who cares about the reality of things? Who cares about facts? Who cares about, actually helping people and supporting the president? This is what I was talking about earlier about the whole understanding thing. It's like, I get it that you don't like him. I get that. And despite the objections that people have with him, and despite the obstructionism, Trump's policies have had a positive impact on the United States. Can you imagine what so much more could have been accomplished to help the American people if even the opposition would go, okay, you know what? I don't like him. I don't agree with his policies, but let me sit down and work with him and see what we can do for him to be happy and for us to get what we want. Or at least meet in the middle ground and see if there's something that we could do to provide better opportunities for people, provide better prosperity for people. I think, well, there's two schools of thought on that. I think that on one side, if people actually tried to work with him, a lot more could have been accomplished. Yeah, his own side supporting him too. That's true. Like initially, at least now the Republicans are on board. A lot of them are. You have more Trump candidates now in Congress as well. So he is gaining a lot more support within the Republican Party. And that's helped a great deal. But that's kind of what I'm saying is, like, on one side, if everybody tried to at least work with him, I think there could be a lot more prosperity, a lot better things happening instead of this sort of soft secessionism that's happening in the country right now, where Democrats, governors, senators, and representatives are willing to put the lives of Americans at risk for political posturing. And the thing is, for anybody that may be a non-conservative listening to me, because I don't just do this because I want to preach to the choir. I want to do this because I also want to preach to the non-choir and let them kind of see the light a little bit here. But my question to them, to the opposite side, well, yeah, I mean, I can't expect them to help. But the one thing that I can hope for is that at least a portion of that population, at least a portion of that group that may not be so staunch and so much drinking the Kool-Aid and so much like a cult, I would hope that they look at stuff that's happening around the world and they go, well, wait a minute, let me see something here. You have a governor that banned the medicine for COVID because Trump said that the medicine could be helpful, thus putting people's lives at risk. She did not care. This is Governor Whitmer, for example. She did not care about the citizens of her state's lives. She preferred to play politics and put lives at risk. Okay? Take what happened in Portland and what happened in Seattle with Chaz. These mayors didn't care about the lives of their citizens, of their constituents. They, in fact, directly are the cause of businesses being destroyed, of people being shot in the street, people being killed. The blood of those people are on their hands. They don't care. If they cared, they would have done something to stop these riots and looting and not create even more division. Take Pelosi, who's perfectly okay saying, you can't do anything, you can't go and get your hair done, but I will. You have to wear a mask, but I don't have to. You can't go to the gym. Take my house speaker, please. Hey, but a bump. But I mean, it's like gym. Like you can't go to the gym. You're not allowed to go to the gym. But government buildings that have gyms inside, we can go to the gym. But you can't go to the gym because everybody's gonna die. I mean, it's just mind-boggling, the hypocrisy, the elitism, the severe case of Marie Antoinette. It's just, I mean, it's amazing to me. Really? It's impossible to use an elliptical with a mask on without a half a dozen holes in it? Is the elliptical that thing that kind of is like a gyroscope that spins you around? Is that what an elliptical is? I've seen that contraption, if that's what it is. I never understood the health benefits to that. Oh, it's a standing bicycle. Okay. Alright. What is that machine then? That's like those 3 circles and you're kind of... It's not good for you? No. I've seen that like on TV shows and stuff where people are strapped into this thing that's just kind of like spinning around. I've never understood the health benefit of doing that. Yeah, 2 kids just came down with bacteria infections for wearing masks for too long. Yeah, it's not the first time I heard reports of that. You get apparently you get bacterial infections. There is, I think, also reports of increased carbon monoxide within the mask, so you have issues with that, which affect the person because they're getting slowly carbon monoxide poisoning. Sorry, just reading Illustrator's comic. Kids are idiots. They wear the same underwear for a month if you'd let them. Kids are kids. They don't know better. They're kids, exactly. Yeah, they're kids. I mean, they don't... There are some... Actually, to be fair, Illustrator, there's some adults that would wear the same underwear for like a month if you let them. There's some adults that would do that too. But yeah, there's a lot of issues with masks, and plenty of guys do that. I wear a mask to obey the letter of the law, not to combat the dreaded coof. You know, I only wear a mask when people ask me to. Like if I'm outdoors, if I'm in my car, if I go in some stores, they don't care. They have notices up saying, you know, yeah, there's this order, but if you can't wear a mask, we're not going to ask you why, because by law, by law they can't ask you why you're not wearing a mask. And so far I always carry the mask with me. I have a just I just have it with me. So if someone asks, like if a store manager, and that's the other thing, I don't have any expectation. Well, on my way out, yeah, I usually take my mask off on my way out, even before I leave the store. I mean, what are you gonna do? Kick me out when I already paid for my service or product? So I understand. I understand people that are more vulnerable should wear a mask, and I understand that there are some benefits to wearing a mask. Like I said, I've never told people not to wear masks. I've always told people it's a personal choice you have to make yourself. It's something you need to make a decision about depending on yourself. I get, and to me, and I get that. I get that there are more vulnerable populations out there as well, and you're gonna have to make that own decision yourself. I wear mine around my neck on a string. It looks like I'm wearing a thong as a necktie. No, see, I have mine usually. I have mine usually wrapped around my arm, so I look like one of those Gestapo guys with the armband. So I don't know. I find this whole mask thing to be really silly at the end of the day. I understand, like I said, I understand there are reasons for it. I understand that there are more vulnerable people that should be wearing it. I understand that you shouldn't be reckless. But at the same time, you also have to consider yourself. You have to consider if you have or have not have dealings with like underlying health issues and things of that nature, because at the end of the day, the virus itself doesn't really kill a whole lot by itself. So the real death numbers are relatively small in comparison to death numbers when you're dealing with people with an underlying condition. And I was thinking about this the other day because it's like, well, okay, some people will argue with me on this and say, yeah, but that's still a COVID death. Okay, sure, fine, count it as such. But if a person would die of COVID with an underlying condition, then that same person will most likely die of some other flu condition, like a bad flu. Would probably do the same thing. So it's just a matter, you have to just keep things in context, keep the numbers in context. And for the record, so YouTube doesn't make any ridiculous claims about what I'm saying. Like I said, I'm not saying that the CDC is saying anything false. I'm not trying to contradict the CDC. All I'm saying is that people need to look at the information. People need to look at the data. They need to make their own conclusions and make their own decisions. That's all I'm saying. And the numbers, the adjustment of numbers that was made by the CDC was in fact an adjustment in the numbers. You just have to look at the context of those numbers. Well, from the Operation Warp Speed illustrator, when it comes to vaccines, it seems like a vaccine is on the way. My only concern about a vaccine now is like how am I guaranteed that there's no tracing bullshit in there? And I know that sounds paranoid, but when you have Bill Gates and Fauci himself saying that, it would be good to have that in the vaccine, like these the nano things that can trace who has the vaccine and who doesn't, that raises a giant red flag for me. It's a big concern. I don't want government putting shit in vaccines. I don't need that. And now I would say, well, okay, is there something in the vaccine that you people in government can use to trace me? And most likely they're going to say no. But they said the same thing about Prism. Clapper lied to Congress, saying we weren't tracking Americans unlawfully. We weren't spying on them unlawfully. Kamala Harris said not to trust any vaccine while Trump's in office. Wow. Really? Oh god, these people, they're incorrigible. They're absolutely incorrigible. I cannot believe how ridiculous these people are. He didn't make the vaccine himself. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Anyways, moving on. There's other things that I wanted to just briefly touch upon. Yeah, I already talked about the gym issue. I had a lot of windows up of stuff that I was just interested in, and not necessarily going to talk about it, but um, but yeah, very very interesting here. I didn't hear about that. So, let's see what else. What else can we talk about here? Shoot, like I have so many windows up here. Give me a second. I'm gonna have to figure out what I was gonna gotta figure out here what I was looking at. Oh, this is an interesting thing actually I saw in the news over the weekend. This was 4 days ago. I saw this actually on Friday. I didn't talk about this Friday because I ended up not doing a stream. But New York restaurant industry is on the verge of collapse apparently. There's an article that talks about that. So since I've been to New York and stayed there for a while and worked, and like I've mentioned, I travel around a lot. Um, I kind of like keeping tabs on New York for that reason because I find there's a lot of things that happen in New York that are quite fascinating when it comes to this sort of stuff. Especially when you have like idiot governors like Cuomo and idiot mayors like de Blasio. And here's the article. The article is saying that the New York restaurants are taking a hit from Governor Andrew Cuomo's extended coronavirus shutdowns, with almost 2/3 of owners saying they could be out of business by year's end, according to a survey released Thursday. The survey by the New York State Restaurant Association is based on response from over 1,000 restaurant owners in the state and provides a window into the future of the previously booming industry as the pandemic nears 6 months. Roughly 63% of respondents said they would likely close by the end of the year without some sort of financial relief, and 36% said they expect to still be in business in January. Quote, "It is painfully clear that without financial assistance, the restaurant industry in New York State could collapse," said Melissa Fleischgut? Not sure how to pronounce her name. The NYSRA's president and CEO. These recent surveys results illustrate just how dire the financial situation has become for most restaurants. Excuse me. Need to drink up a little bit more of my coffee there. Okay. And it shows how critical it is that elected officials understand the urgency of the situation. Restaurant owners need financial support, but ultimately want to increase indoor dining capacity and, in New York City, the ability to open for indoor dining. New York City officials said earlier this week that roughly 1,300 of the city's 25,000 restaurants and bars have shut down amid the pandemic. "We are now asking the governor, the state legislature, and those at the federal level to simply help us survive. Without further assistance, the restaurant industry as we know it could be gone in a New York minute," Fleischgut also said. That's some harrowing harrowing news, really, if you think about it. I mean, that's a massive number. And the restaurant industry is one of the biggest industries in New York. And there are states that have allowed limited capacity of people to eat inside a restaurant, keeping people distant. And there hasn't really been any major issues with that. Because you're not going to be able to do outdoor seating indefinitely. The weather's starting to get colder. And you just don't have as much seating outdoors as well. Some restaurants have more seating indoors, even in a limited capacity, than they do outdoors. So I feel, bad for these restaurants and restaurant owners, especially because New York is very interesting when it comes to the food and restaurants. There's a lot of little gems and a lot of great restaurants and great food out there, and it's a shame. It's a shame that de Blasio has his heel on their throat. Yeah, going back to that whole vaccine thing, I find it difficult to trust. I find it difficult to trust government in general. I find it difficult to trust big pharma in general as well. Consider that no government is going to call the all clear until either a vaccine is developed and implemented. Amidst this virus, everyone admits that this virus was a dramatic overreaction. Well, nobody's going to admit that. No. Well, there's a difference between cancer and a virus. That's the thing. Viruses are different because viruses, you can actually attack the virus. Cancer is a internal malfunction, essentially, of your own cells. So it's different. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. It is possible to find a cure for a virus or a vaccine for a virus. I mean, that's what you had with polio. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not gonna make any claim like that on stream whether the virus was created or not. All I can tell you that there is a difference between a virus and cancer, because cancer is one thing. It's a different type of malady versus a virus that is COVID. So if you can get a vaccine, you can get vaccines for viruses. Vaccines exist for viruses. Well, everybody that was involved in scaremongering and in destroying businesses, there should be liability. That's what I mean about liability. Scientists are no longer scientists, and France is no longer France. I wouldn't go to France. Because France is no longer France. But anyways. I just love that. I'm sorry. No, I think the problem is that politics has invaded every aspect of this. That right there actually is a key statement that you're making about scientists no longer being scientists. When politics gets integrated into every aspect of everything, of like business, of media, medicine, everything, that is a big problem. Because you're no longer making a decision based on science, you're not making decisions based on reality, you're making decisions based on ideology. Yeah, Andrew Cuomo rushed out a book to try and cover his ass. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He should be liable for all the deaths that happened in New York under his watch. He should be liable, especially for all the deaths that happen in nursing homes, because that's a direct result of him, of his policies. He should face criminal liabilities for that and civil liabilities for that. I think the law should be changed that legislatures, a 17-year-old where you live just killed himself. That's terrible. Yeah, isolation. And there are many cases like that, and nobody's talking about those numbers. Nobody's talking about those numbers. I know people that have like friends and acquaintances call me in a blind panic about the fact that they can't take the isolation anymore, crying and everything. Divorce is up 30%. Yeah, I'm sure this has been a big strain on many relationships. Yeah. Child abuse, probably. Yeah. The thing is, nobody talks about those numbers. I haven't seen what numbers are for that since COVID till now. What are the statistics for that? I haven't seen them. That's the only problem. I haven't seen statistics on what sort of issues have been happening between families, between couples, with isolation, psychological issues. It's The Shining. Yeah, it's kind of like The Shining, just on a larger scale. You're right. Here's Johnny. Uh, red rum, red rum. Anyways, but yeah, no, it's here's Andrew. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I mean, I understand from a public health kind of argument. Oh, but you gotta isolate to stop the spread. Okay, fine, whatever. So it's like I get that, but at the same time, you also have to consider the long term consequences of the actions that you're taking. Basically, that's what it boils down to. It's frustrating. Like all this stuff, this is the stuff that to me is just incredibly frustrating. Um. Oh, another interesting thing about Trump disparaging soldiers. I did see this other thing, and I wanted to mention it. That John Bolton denies that Trump he said disparaging remarks about fallen soldiers in France. He says it's simply false. John Bolton of all people, the guy who wrote a bunch of bullshit about Trump, like verifiably false things about Trump. And even he is saying on the record that is completely false. So it makes you wonder. It makes you wonder that if even someone like Bolton defends Trump in this situation, it makes you wonder like how fake this news report is from the Atlantic. So take that with a grain of salt. Oh boy, oh boy. Amazing. Amazing the stuff you see in the news today. Um, there was this other video. I think we're gonna conclude with this. Actually, two quick things to conclude. One, there's this news report that the Venture Brothers is being canceled. I didn't even realize that the Venture Brothers was still going on. So it's been around for like 17 years, but there's only been about 7 seasons. Because I think there was like big breaks between certain seasons, and you know, some people love it. I've never really been a fan. The first season I found interesting, but beyond that, I never really been a big fan of the whole series. I think it was really dumb overall. It started with an interesting premise. It was kind of comical, and then they just went full idiotic on it. That's a problem with a lot of series. That's a problem with a lot of entertainment out there. Yeah, it's like Squidbillies. They're still on, but the seasons are infrequent. all all lockdown and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All lockdown and no play makes Jack a dull boy. They pulled the plug on Deathlock because they were tired of being asked when it was going to come back. Oh, come on, really? Oh yeah, yeah. It was a broad parody of Johnny Quest. Oh yeah, I that's what I mean. I like the premise of it. Initially, it was pretty funny. And it just took a really dumb direction after like the first halfway through the second season. Excuse me. Because up until like halfway through the second season, it could still keep my attention. It was still okay. But then it just got it seemed like they just went off like the rails in terms of story and like making it fun for me to watch. I don't know. I just it couldn't hold my attention anymore. But I always thought the concept was funny. I like the animation. I like the Brock guy, that character. So I don't know. I always thought that it wasn't that great a series, and I'm surprised this lasted as long as it did. Um, but here's one other thing that I want to share. It's just hilarious. I'll probably get a copyright thing because no matter what I show, I always get a copyright thing. But I do want to show this because it's just too damn funny. So let me get this set up. Hopefully, I won't boomer it up. Hold on. Okay. Well, nope. Hold on. Don't play just yet, buddy. Hold on. Pause. All right. Okie dokie. Let me just make a quick adjustment here. Filters. Um, Hold on. Just take me 2 seconds here. Sorry for the dead air. I just want to make sure that that this is visible because it's a small thing. Whoops. I gotta just try and increase the size so people can see a little better here. Okay. Let me just reposition this briefly. There we go. I thought this was hilarious. I want you guys to watch this. We're gonna conclude on this note. So actually, before I play, there is one thing I wanna mention. I really am bothered by the fact that leftist people are basically committing vandalism and theft in stealing Trump signs. It was a very clever, this was about the Venture Brothers. It was a very clever show. The show that never got off the ground because Cartoon Network didn't buy it. It was the Enningville Club. Just a pilot, nothing more. Yeah, it's just, that's the thing. It seems like, that's why I'm saying, I like the premise. There were some really good, funny episodes. And it just seems like that's exactly my perception of it, is that it just never really hit the ground running and it had a good stride. It was just seemed very much all over the place. It was disconnected and disjointed for me after a while. Because up until like the first season, halfway through the second season or so, there was some kind of thread and some kind of continuity throughout the entire thing. And then I think actually up until the second season, the first 2 seasons made like were all right, and then afterwards just became completely disjointed to me, and I think that's a shame. I really do think that's a shame. But going back to the sign thing, I find it very disturbing that the left does this. I don't recall one single report on the news, on social media, on anything saying that Trump supporters, or not Trump supporters, but conservatives were stealing Obama signs. I had never, ever seen this sort of disgusting behavior that's happening exclusively on the left. And it just shows to me how really intolerant these people are. How really these people do not care about other people's beliefs. They're not accepting of other people. If you don't prescribe to the cult, you're the enemy. That's what it is. So, without further ado, the presentation here. Let's see. Hopefully, my sound will work. I don't know if there is sound actually. Come on. Hold up. This is being silly. It's not working. Come on, play. Frickin' OBS, man. 1 second. Having some technical issues. Come on, play. For Pete's sake. Let me reload this here. Hopefully that'll work. There we go. And I can't get the sound to work. God bless it. There we go.
Dude, what the fuck? Oh, someone's messing with your Trump signs. Oh shit. Dude, what the fuck? Fuck out of here. You see him running. Oh, someone's messing with your Trump signs.
I gotta let it run again.
Oh shit. Dude, what the fuck? Yeah. Fuck out of here.
I like that little pause. Like he goes da 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 da. Then there's a pause, and then he goes like a few more just for good measure. All right, that's enough of that. Yeah, check out vMix. Let me know what you think, Illustrator. It's a little weird about how you can create like the visuals and the scenes. Like it's not the most intuitive. Like OBS to me was more intuitive when it came to that. But now I finally figured out how to do it in vMix. That was one of the big problems that I had. It was like, how do you get all the graphics to layer properly together and all that, you know? And I finally have a feeling I understand it, because the way vMix works is weird. Well, yeah, that's what this guy has. He has a camera, 24/7 point, like has a security camera on his sign. And that's what I would do. If I had Trump signs up, I would have to put a camera on it. Feel good story of the day, hashtag. Yeah. No, but to me, it's just, that's the thing I don't understand. It's just so disgusting to me that people behave in this fashion. It's like, really? You're so infantile. You're so infantile that a sign not only triggers you, but triggers you to the point where you want to steal it, deface it, urinate on it. What is the matter with you? Seriously, if someone thinks that way, I say you need to go to a psychiatrist, because there's something really messed up with you. I have neighbors. Not just neighbors. I have neighbors, and I've seen other places where there's Biden signs and whatever. I don't lose my shit. I don't go and just get out of my car and rip the signs down and start stomping on them and take a crap on it. Because I'm sane. I don't have the urge to destroy property based solely on my political beliefs. Okay? I've only seen that behavior on the left. And it's crazy. It's really, really crazy. And I like the fact that this guy just had a paintball gun and just started just pelting this guy. The guy deserved it, in my opinion. I was raised better. Yeah, well, I'd like to think so. So, with that, I will finish my coffee. Last couple drops here. Tomorrow, we're going to do this again. 10 a.m.-ish Eastern Standard Time. Hey! I forgot I had muted it. I like this song. Thank you very much for the ice cream, Illustrator. Really appreciate that. One thing I will say, actually, I forgot to shamelessly promote myself this time. So that reminds me. Let me do that right now. I forgot. you know. But thank you for the ice cream. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank everybody for supporting me in any way they can. You know, it's this is something that's kind of a labor of passion that I do with the stream thing. I've never really thought too much about this in terms of turning this into a full-time gig. If I get enough support, maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see. But the point is, I want to thank everybody for watching, and I want to thank everybody for your support. Please support me and continue to support me. The best thing you can do to support me, two ways you can do it. Streamlabs.com/TheEternalAbyss. Or you can help me grow, which is the biggest thing you can do to help, actually. Help by following and sharing on all my platforms, on all the social media, on Twitter, on Gab, on Parler, on Minds, on Float, and on all the video platforms, on YouTube, Periscope, DLive, BitChute, where I archive my stuff, Twitch, all that stuff. And since I wasn't squabbling with Dispatch, I got more accomplished. Absolutely. Dispatch always derails me. He has this uncanny gift in derailing my streams. Lend a hand, help and grow with your hand. Yep. And remember, yeah, don't be complacent. What does that say in the small text? Maybe only in the idea that the left will never be normal. I like to still have some hope. I like to hope that maybe one day they'll come around. I thought plus derailed you. What's that? I'm not sure I follow what that says, Illustrator. There's a couple people that have a gift for derailing my streams, but it's still fun no matter what, derailing or not. I still enjoy streaming. I still enjoy everything. So, but I'm gonna call it a day here, guys. I want to thank everybody for watching. Again, we're gonna do this tomorrow, 10 a.m. ish Eastern Standard Time. And we are going to call it a day. Let me get my thing prepped here. All right. Fantastic. Don't be complacent, kids.